The day your life changed, you almost missed it. You were too busy surviving to notice anything else. You were 29 years old and built like a load-bearing wall, the kind of body that fills door frames and makes strangers recalculate their decisions before they open their mouths. The military gave you posture, reflexes, and a tolerance for discomfort that most people will never need. You can never turn off what it built inside you. What it did not give you was a future. You came home to a city that had moved on without you. A job market that translated your service record into nothing hireable. So you ended up where men like you always end up when the options run dry. Standing outside a venue that smells like cheap beer and poor decisions. Wearing a black shirt 2 sizes too small. Turning away people who cannot hold their liquor. Absorbing insults from teenagers who mistake your restraint for weakness. 6 nights a week. Cash at the end of the shift. Barely enough to keep the lights on. You have been doing this for 11 months. When a car pulls up on a wet Wednesday, a man steps out who is not looking for the entrance. He is looking at you, not the way people usually look at you. Not cataloging your size and deciding whether to push back. He is looking at you the way a contractor looks at materials he has been trying to source for months. He speaks for less than a minute. You listen. 3 days later, you are sitting behind the wheel of a car that costs more than 4 years of your current salary. Your employer deals in private credit. That is the language he uses. You do not push past it. Your instructions are narrow and precise. Drive where you are told. Park where you are told. Stand where you are told. Treat silence as your default setting. You open doors. You carry bags. You wait. What you are actually doing, though neither of you ever names it, is existing as a visible deterrent. Your size communicates a threat you have never once needed to articulate. The people who get into this car are already afraid by the time they sit down. You watch their hands, you watch their eyes. You watch the specific geometry of desperation that arranges itself differently on every face, but always means the same thing. Your monthly income quadruples. You start sleeping on a real bed. You eat actual meals. You begin to understand that the body you spent years resenting was never the problem. The problem was that you had been offering it to the wrong people for the wrong price. That understanding is the first thing you lose, without realizing you are losing it. The second thing you lose arrives on a Thursday afternoon 6 months in. Your employer points at a door on a residential street and tells you to go inside and come back with what is owed. No further instruction. You already know what that means. You have known for weeks that this moment was coming. You walk through the door. The man inside has the particular kind of fear that comes from having run out of options. He knows he has run out of them. He is not aggressive until he is. When he is, your body responds before your mind has finished forming a thought. It is not violence the way you understood violence before. It is something more like resolution. You return to the car. Your employer does not look up from his phone for the first 30 seconds. Then he acknowledges you with 2 words and hands you a folded envelope. That night, you sit at your kitchen table and conduct a quiet inventory of yourself. Several items are missing that were there before. You do not spend long looking for them. The money is on the table. The table is solid. That is what you focus on. Months accumulate. Your role shifts from instrument to symbol. You no longer need to escalate situations. Situations no longer escalate in your presence. The city's informal credit ecosystem has absorbed your existence into its operating logic. Addresses where you appear experience rapid resolution. You are not threatening anyone. You are simply arriving. Arrival has become enough. Your income now includes a percentage of recovered amounts. The more efficient you are, the better you eat. You become very efficient. The apartment improves. The clothing improves. The radius of your daily life contracts until it contains almost no one who knew you before any of this started. The people from your previous life have not disappeared. They have simply reclassified you. You notice it at a cousin's birthday, in the way conversations redirect when you enter a room, in the careful neutrality of faces that used to be open. You are not excluded. You are accommodated. That is worse. Accommodation is what you offer to things you cannot change and have decided to live with. Your mother calls less. When she does call, there are silences that were not there before. Pauses where questions used to live. Questions she has decided she does not want answered. You do not blame her. You would not want the answers either. Your employer restructures. The operation grows a skeleton around itself. Legitimate holdings. Legal entities. A physical compound with security considerations that require more than one person to manage. You become the person who manages them. You supervise 4 men. Assign their positions. Evaluate their judgment. Correct their errors. You carry a registered firearm that you have never discharged outside a range. The work has become organizational. You find you are better at it than anyone expected, including yourself. But the man at the center of the organization is changing. Experienced people recognize the direction. Inexperienced people dismiss it. You are experienced enough to recognize it. You are employed enough to dismiss it. His demands expand past reason. His trust in you deepens at the same rate that his trust in his own judgment deteriorates. Your responsibility grows while your authority shrinks. He trusts you completely. He overrules you constantly. You start keeping certain things separate. A bag, an account, a contingency. Not an exit plan. You tell yourself it is not an exit plan. The collapse arrives through a screen, a recording, origin unknown, content undeniable, distribution immediate and total. The machine that took years to build disassembles in a news cycle. You are inside the compound when the vehicles arrive. You exit through a route you surveyed 14 months ago and have walked twice since, unhurried, carrying only what you prepared for this moment. The bag was ready. The documents were current. The phone had never touched anything traceable. You watch the perimeter situation from a safe distance. Then you leave. On a bus heading north, you sit with your bag between your feet. You watch the city contract behind the window. You feel something you cannot immediately name. It turns out to be stillness, not peace. Just the absence of a frequency you had been vibrating at for so long that silence registers as its own kind of noise. You spend the next year and a half being unremarkable in a city where no one knows your name. You do physical work, pay cash for everything, keep your head at a consistent angle that discourages recognition. It is the smallest your life has ever been. Some mornings, you think that small might be survivable in a way that large never was. Then a man sits across from you in a diner without asking if the seat is free. He wears a suit that was made for him specifically. He orders without looking at the menu. He already knows what he wants. It is you. He has known it since before he walked in. He represents an attorney, senior, well-connected. Currently the subject of focused interest from several parties whose methods are not legal. The offer is precise, generous, framed without pressure. That tells you everything about how seriously he has evaluated you. You look at your hands on the table. The damage is old enough now that it has become structural rather than visible, geography rather than injury. You ask for 1 day. He says, of course. He leaves a card and walks out. You already know what your answer will be. You knew it when he sat down. That is the part of this life that no one explains at the beginning. The choosing stops at some point. The being chosen takes over. You become less a person making decisions than a resource being allocated, forces that identified your value long before you understood what your value was. You say yes. 3 weeks later, you are standing outside a courthouse in a city where no one knew you a month ago, wearing a suit that fits the way good suits fit. You do not think about it. You watch the movement of people across the plaza with the particular quality of attention that cannot be trained quickly, that cannot be faked at all. A young man is waiting on a delivery bike across the street between orders. He is watching your employer's car. Then he sees you. You watch him process what he is seeing. The stillness, the positioning, the controlled authority of a person who occupies space differently than ordinary people occupy space. His expression does not change, but something behind it does. He is reading a story in your posture that has no resemblance to the story you are actually living. He sees an outcome he wants. You see, the beginning of a road you have already walked to the end of. You have an impulse to cross the street, to say one true sentence, to give him the only information that would actually help him. Turn around, go back to wherever he came from. While he still has the option of doing that, but the impulse passes. It always passes. You adjust your position, return your attention to the entrance. Do the job. The job is the only clean thing left. Even the job is not clean. You have known that for a long time. You do it anyway. Somewhere across the city, another door is opening for someone who looks like you used to look. The whole machinery of it turns without a sound.